Welcome back to the channel, and welcome if you're new. I am in my dungaree era. A couple of you have noticed my love of dungarees for the past while. I've decided in this video I'm gonna try and DIY a pair. I've picked up a sewing pattern that I hope is going to be easy to sew. The brand is Tilly and the Buttons and it's called the Erin pattern. I have stitched a top by this brand, this pattern, and what I like about this brand compared to other sewing patterns is if you're a beginner, the instructions are very easy to follow, but they also have a video tutorial on YouTube which will help me along. This pattern has 3 leg options. I'm going to be trying to make the one that has the short version for summer, but there's also a cropped leg and a full leg length, so there's 3 versions. There's also 2 versions of the top. You can do a tie strap or you can do one with a buttonhole. Now, just on this sewing pattern, I was looking at reviews on YouTube and a couple of people were saying, hang on, I have 2 cats with zoomies. A couple of people were saying that the pattern can run a bit big. So sometimes you can check the finished size pattern. So here on the right hand side, this is what it's going to be when it is finished. I think I'm going to take the internet's advice. I'm sorry. The cats know when the camera comes on, it's showtime. I think I'm going to do a UK 10. I would normally purchase something for the bottom, like a pair of jeans and stuff, in like a petite UK 12 and then UK 10 on top, because the finished measurements look like they'd fit me. I'm hoping. My only concern is the thigh, the leg. So I think I might do the UK 10 just because that, hang on, I have my lovely assistant. What do you think? I think I'm going to do that size, so size number 3, just because people have been saying, hang on, I am sorry. Yes, I'm going to go with size 3. When I'm working off a sewing pattern, I take extra time when it comes to cutting out the pattern pieces and cutting the material. Doing the machine work is actually the easy part, because if all of your pieces are cut out perfectly, then you're less likely to kind of make a mistake. A little trick I do is I am making a size 3. So I'm just going around with a colouring pencil, you can use a highlighter, and I'm just marking the size 3 so I don't accidentally cut a smaller or bigger piece. Sometimes when you're sewing, all of the numbers can just be jumbled together. I know for me anyway, my brain isn't great with numbers. So I find by doing this and taking extra time marking and cutting out the pattern, it helps me. Here are all the pattern pieces. We've got front leg, back leg. I'm gonna do a short version for summer, but I cut off the whole length because you can just fold it. So actually that length, sorry, my camera, that length there looks like it could be a nice length, might be below the knee. And then these are all the pieces. Front leg, front bodice, back bodice, interfacing, these are the straps, these are the pockets, because yes, you know it's going to have pockets. So what I'm going to do now is make a cup of tea, but also I'm going to clear up all of this kind of scrap bits that I have here, and I'm actually going to make a cup of tea. Oh sorry, I have radio tomorrow and my notes are jotted in pencil because I had a phone call going through the notes and I ended up jotting stuff down on this. So I'm going to make a cup of tea and just read through the guide for cutting as well. So I'm going to place the pattern pieces onto the fabric. I need to go get the fabric as well, and then have a read through this just for the steps. I don't know if I have interfacing. If I don't, I'll have to fly to the shop, and it is up. It's not a day I want to be flying to the shop. Miss Bourbon has the best seat in the house. He's having a little nap because it is rainy. I don't know where Biog is after going, but this is my scrap pieces here. Obviously you can keep these if you were to make this pattern in different sizes. And then I have some more here. So I'm just going to tidy up because I find if I clean as I go, I don't get as overwhelmed trying to sew. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. That rhymed. There will be a few cat interruptions throughout this video. For anybody who's new, Bjug and Bon, they're not a year old yet. Even though they're getting so big, Bon is like fully grown. I think their birthday will be August, but I adopted them in October. It is their first time to be around a sewing project, I think. A sewing project at this scale where I'm on the floor cutting stuff. So they're very, very curious. So the fabric that I'm using, some of you might recognize last year I made some cushions out of this material, and I got this from the €5 fabric shop out in Newbridge. If I remember, I will link to that video if you want to check out the €5 fabric shop. So I have loads of this fabric, and if you also saw my recent declutter and organizing videos, you'll know that I have way too much fabric that I need to start making things out of. Whenever I'm following a pattern or I'm doing any project, I have learned to take extra time placing the patterns, cutting them out, because if something is cut wrong, you're going to sew it wrong. And when I first learned how to sew, I thought I was going to go into the class, come out with a cushion or something freshly made. I realised that my teacher had said a lot of sewing is actually in the measuring and the cutting and the patterns. You're actually only on the machine for a little bit. So if you are a newbie, take your time with these steps. They can be kind of boring, but I promise you, you will have a much better finished product in the end. For anybody who's new to sewing and finds a sewing pattern a little bit overwhelming, I just wanted to share a couple of things. Once you dissect the pattern, it's not that bad. The instructions like place on fold. So generally when you're cutting your material, it's going to be folded. So this will be place on the fold, and then you cut your piece out, and then just don't forget to mark in your notches, because these are like puzzle pieces, I suppose. When you go to assemble them, you'll line up your seams, but these little notches help as well because you'll line up the notches. So that's the back bib. So when I cut this, because it's cut on the fold, when you open it out, you have one complete back piece. Then you have pieces like this where it's not on the fold, but you do cut out two pieces of fabric because your material is folded over. I'll also tell you how many to cut. These are the sizes, because there is another piece of this pattern for the other sizes. It'll say cut 2 and then 2 of the lining. So I'm going to cut out 2 pieces of my outer material, which is the green, and 2 pieces of the lining, which will be the stripe. There's also a notch for the pocket, and then it also has the grain line. So sometimes this is really important, and sometimes I'm like, oh crap, I haven't lined it up. So this arrow needs to be parallel with the selvage, and the selvage of your material is that, hang on, let me find an example. So this is your selvage here, this stitched end. I don't know how to describe it, but you'll know it when you see it, and every piece of material will have a selvage, and you will line it up parallel to the selvage, and that's because it has less stretch. So you'll see it on the pattern, it'll say position this arrow parallel to selvages or direction with the least stretch. So they're just a couple of things. I used to find these really overwhelming when I looked at them at first, because there's so much, I suppose, on them. But when you break it down, all the instructions are there. It's going to tell you where to position it on your material. There's also a guide in the book that you get with it, the instructions, and it'll tell you, also very helpful, it has the name on it, because sometimes if you mix up your patterns, maybe you're doing a couple of things at the same time. Generally, if I'm making something, I am just making this piece and then I tidy it away, and it'll tell you what it is and how many to cut and your notches. So I hope that's a bit helpful, because yes, they can be overwhelming if you're a newbie. I am now at the assembly stage, and I'm just ironing on the interfacing, and I'm doing some stay stitching on the front armhole area and back bodice. Tilly and the Buttons have really detailed videos. There's 3 10-minute videos for each step, and I've been watching them alongside the booklet as well that has the instructions. So if you are making this project, I'm not going to do a tutorial on how to make it. I'm just going to share the steps and the mistakes I kind of made along the way and my opinion of the pattern. If you need a detailed tutorial, if you go onto their YouTube page, you will find videos on how to make this specific pattern. This is my very first time to sew a garment that has a lining. I've made pencil cases and smaller projects with a lining, but this is my first time to do it for a garment, and I love how it's going to neaten everything up. It's going to give it a lovely professional finish because you're not going to see any of the seams for the top piece anyway. The shorts in this pattern are not lined, so I'm working on putting the front bodice together and the back bodice, sticking them together and then sticking the yokes on. I am going to make a mistake, which in a minute you will hear me explain. And again, I'm just following the pattern, lining up the edges when I go to put things together and marking up the notches. Lots of pins. So like sometimes I see sewing videos and they don't even pin the stuff. They are pros, my friend. They are pros. If you need to use lots of pins, do it. Hello, I'm cutting out a new front, what is it? A front yoke. Cut to unfold. Yeah, sorry. Phew! Oh my God. I have a radio interview in a few minutes with Maria McCann. I think she watches my YouTube channel. Hello Maria. I'm actually sewing this as I'm waiting for your call. We have 10 minutes, but I'm just having a cup of tea because I feel a bit sneezy. But when I was on RT the other day with Claire Byrne, there was a guy on before me and he was talking about pollen, and I didn't get to see his whole thing, but I was chatting to him afterwards and he was saying that birch pollen, so in May in Ireland, it's at its peak. And I go to acupuncture the past couple of weeks just to help with like anxiety and energy levels, and just while I'm in a bit of a busy season, just as a little self-care. And I think my sneezing is a bit of dust. Hang on. I have the local beekeeper honey as well. I got 2 jars when I was up at the orchard in Drogheda. But anyway, he was saying it's not grass pollen season and there's different things that can set you off. But he was saying in Ireland at the moment, there's lots of birch pollen. And I was in the Phoenix Park a couple of days and he was saying there's loads of birch in the Phoenix Park. So I felt like I was having a head cold the past 2 weeks. I did take an antihistamine last week. But yeah, I know, Bon, I know. Someone's looking for their walk around the garden. Anyway, I went off on a tangent there. My front yoke is too small, and even with easing it in, it's still too small. And I looked at other people's videos of where they're making the Erin. It's only the front bit, the back bit fits fine. The back yoke for the back panel, yeah. So I'm just gonna cut out a new front piece, but give myself an extra bit of room, because first of all I sewed it on wrong, and when I turned it up you could see there was all puckering, and I don't want that because that's going to be the front of my dungarees, so you want that to kind of be perfect. So I'm going to cut out the front, and it's the same for the lining and for the thing, but I did cut out the correct size versus the thing. So I don't know if it was just how I folded the fabric, but the other reviews of people sewing this didn't seem to have the problem. So I'm just going to cut out 2 new pieces and a piece of interfacing, and then hopefully that will fix it. Seems like a relatively simple, this is the hardest bit I think for me, and then sticking the lining together. Once that's all done, I'm just sticking the shorts on, which are sitting here underneath the little greenhouse. Anyway, that's all my news. I'm waiting for I have 10 minutes to do this before Maria rings me. I am now working on the straps. Sometimes straps can be fiddly, but with this pattern, they are thick enough that they are easy to pull through. Sometimes I'd be getting knitting needles and stuff stuck in things, trying to turn them the right way out. And this project I did over the course of, I'm going to say 3 days. Now, not 3 full days. I was doing it in between. I had some radio interviews this week from home, which was great. They were just over the phone. But sometimes, if I know I have a call or a meeting, I waste time in between. So I was doing this in between, so like an hour here and there. One of the days I measured and I cut everything out. And then on the other days, I was piecing it together and sewing. So sometimes you can get the sewing fatigue. There's a certain fatigue that comes with projects when you're using a lot of mental brain juice. So sometimes with sewing, if you get tired, that's when you start to kind of make mistakes and you get the kind of sewing frustration. So if your machine jams or you stitch the wrong thing together, you get the sewing rage. Let me know, am I the only one who gets the sewing rage? Hello, my friends. It is time for a fit check. I'm gonna have to look in the viewfinder. So, I'm definitely glad I sized down. It now says in the pattern so I finished the top and all of the stitches, let me see. So, I think I got a good, like, professional-ish finish. If I iron this little dart here, but I think it looks good. And then the inside is stripe and it's all lined. You can't see any like threads or stitches. You need to like overlock anything. I will with the shorts though. So the bodice is, as you can see, I have like a thick jumper on. So even with a thick jumper, I have room here. So the pattern said that it would be an oversized fit, and people online were saying it was big and they would have gotten away with sizing down. So I have sized down one size, and I'm glad I did, because I think the size up I would have had way too much gappage here. But I'm quite happy with, I went for straps because I don't have a buttonhole doodah. So this was a nice easy option. But I love, there's a dress on, what's that website? Oh, why can't I think of it? But anyway, it has bows on the shoulder. And I was like, I can make little bows on the shoulder then with my dungaree. Sorry, I know it's really annoying. Keep looking in the viewfinder, but it's just because you are my mirror. So the next step, it also says in the pattern to make sure that when you have this on, it can go down past your hips. And I have a chunky jumper and a pair of shorts, and let me just make sure it's getting caught in my jumper, but if I just have a t-shirt or a vest on, it can go down past my hips, thank God. So I'm hoping the shorts aren't going to be too small. So that is a bodice complete, which I think is the hardest part of the pattern, but it's all done. I'm really liking how that has turned out. The fabric on the inside is a lining fabric, and it's a, of course it's a lining fabric, but it's a little bit thicker, and I feel like it's given it a good bit of shape because my outer fabric is a bit lighter. So I feel like that's what's giving it structure and holding its shape. This is my first time to ever sew something with a lining. Whoop whoop. So I'm going to celebrate now by having a cup of tea. I'm actually quite tired making this because I have to use all my brain juice and be like, this goes there, that goes there. Anyway, next section is making the shorts, sticking them together, and this also has pockets. It has pockets. I am not going to, seeing as I've done the lining, I'm not going to chicken out and do no pockets. I'm going to do it the whole way. I'm going to do the pockets. It might not be today, but I am going to do them. I am joined by the audience and my lovely assistants. So Björg developed a trick while I was sewing. She figured out how to pull the pins out of the fabric strategically, but I was like, girl, you are going to have an accident. So I had to quickly remove her from the sewing because she was pulling the pins out of the fabric. I am working on these shorts, and the shorts, while they might look complicated, they are probably one of the easier parts of this project. They're easier to stick together. The bodice, I think, is the hardest part with the lining. Even the pockets are not as hard. So if you are doing this, I think take lots of time doing the top section, and then if you've done shorts before as well, or if you've put in trousers together, they are quite easy. Okay, moment of truth for the shorts. I have thighs like they will put a rugby player to shame. I should play rugby. I got the thighs for it. I hope the bottom fit. So that was my concern, is by downsizing, I always need a bigger size for the bottom. Oh, please go above my, oh, she fits. Oh yes. Okay, let me hang on my jumper. So I have room, they're falling down, but in the dungaree. So I don't know if you can see, sorry the sound might go bad. Oh, they fit. They fit. You have no idea how happy I am that they fit. And oh, I can squat. I did an extra line of stitching on the bum because I didn't want to tear the arse out of them, because I will tear the arse out of them. But yeah, so once this gets attached to the bib top with the pocket, I'm on the final stretch, but Bonna's looking at me going, Ma, where's my dinner? So I'm going to feed the cats, and I will be back. I don't know whether to plough on because I'm on the home stretch, or take a break. I don't know. If you are still with me at the 22-minute mark of this video, hit that thumbs up button. Let me know if you're still here, because even editing this, I'm like, oh, I am getting fatigued. Trust me, it's a good sewing pattern, but I will speed up the end process to not bore you anymore. For the final step, I also decided to plough on, but I did make a little mistake, which I will share because I was getting tired. So I'm putting the bodice to the shorts with the pockets, stitching it all together. Then I'll just hem the legs, which you've probably seen me doing in loads of other sewing videos, and then it is made. I'm a little bit obsessed. How cute. Okay, I need to look in the viewfinder. So I'll try and get some zhuzhy close-up clips. I did make a few mistakes, which of course I will show you so you don't make them as well. But I've just excitedly thrown this on, so the bows are chaotic. I think if I was to make these again, I would try the buttonhole, but because I'm just thinking to take these off to go to the bathroom, I'm gonna have to do this only on one shoulder, like every time. Actually, while I do that, here's the lining. The lining, look how good that is. I can't believe I've never stitched a lining in something. It just neatens and tidies everything up. My best advice is size down. Actually, I wonder if I was to tie them here, would it look a bit less chaotic? I think the shoulder tie is a bit chaos here. What if I did a little bow here instead? Oh, that's kind of cute actually. instead of this. This side or this side? My left, my right. Which side? Anyway, I'll show, oh, as well, it has pockets. I will show you where I went wrong. So if you see here, it's very tiny detail. My seam here doesn't match with here. The reason why that happened was because I rushed the ending and I didn't match up the seam, and there was a bit of excess fabric that I should have eased into it. Did I do it on this side? I did. Now to fix that, I could unpick it and restitch it. I don't want to do that. But that's how you would fix it. And the reason why it happened was because I was tired and I was rushing to get it finished. Because anyone who sews knows the feeling. Any other mistakes? The only other thing, if I was to make these again and do differently, is I wouldn't pick a thick lining material, because I don't know if you can see, like I have my pockets here and they're lovely and they're that thick material. But I feel like from the side, this top section has more structure to it because I use thick lining, and the bottom is just the softer cotton. And I feel like I have too much structure here, and I feel like if it was just the same loose cotton fabric, it would just flow on my body a bit better. Really, really delighted I sized down, because as you can see here, which I like with dungarees, I have space. If I was to do the size that was recommended in the pattern, this would have been huge on me and I would have been tailoring it to fit smaller. So for reference, I made a size 3, which was a UK size 10, and I would normally, when it comes to anything on the bottom, I would normally get a size 12 and a dress would be a size 10. So look at the measurements for the finished product, or dungarees. So there is measurements for the finished look. But yeah, let's tie this the other side. These are now my garden dungarees, and I was thinking, I am in London soon. Wouldn't these be lovely in like Liberty print fabric? So I think I used 1.5 meters to do the short version, and it says to use 2.2 meters for the full length version. I feel like I like the, I like them. The dungaree sewing pattern is Tilly and the Buttons Erin. There is another dungaree pattern, but there's probably loads of dungaree patterns actually if you just search for them. I think I was looking for a McCall one, but Tilly and the Buttons is great if you are a beginner. I do have a video where I turned a bedsheet or a pillow, so my OGs will remember that one. I turned a pillow into a top. I used the Tilly and the Buttons dress pattern, but I just made the top version of it, and that was big as well. I could have sized down on that. So I don't know if the Tilly and the Buttons patterns run big. So just something to bear in mind, and I've heard some of the other YouTube videos that I was watching were kind of saying the same thing. So let me know if you would have a shot at making a pair of dungarees. I love a pair of dungarees when I'm in the garden, when I'm crafting. Now actually, one thing people are probably thinking, girl, why did you not do a front pocket? I know. Do you know what I think I'd actually do? Although the neck is too high, you could do a little inside pocket. Yeah, but then you probably stab yourself with things when you bend over. But then that happens with the front pocket. But yes, these are fully customizable. There is the pockets here, but I reckon you could have gotten away with sticking pockets in the back. I'm sure you can tweak the pattern to do that. And then pockets on the front would be nice. Although the pockets here are deep. But you know yourself when you're in the garden and when you are bending over like this. Anyway, I'm waffling now. If you want more sewing videos, I haven't done a sewing video in a while. It was a nice challenge this week. I do have a sewing playlist. I would like to do more garments actually. I quite enjoyed doing this from a pattern. Yeah, I hope you've been inspired to dust off your sewing machine. Yeah, check out that playlist and I will see you in the next one.